Hey there guys, it's MetaGamesGX here, and we are going to be taking a look at Branded Dracotail. This is going to be a gameplay I had against Yummy, and I played Branded Dracotail. I wanted to go over, just show you guys what the deck does. This isn't the most incredible gameplay in the world, but I do want to show you guys just the basic idea. And we're going to be going over this deck a lot in the coming weeks because it is the future of Branded. This will be the new best way to run Branded, I think. I think Branded Dracotail is the best way to run Dracotail. I'm going to have my full guide out pretty soon on that. So leave a like down below if you want to see that. And then also if this video gets to 100 likes, we will do another gameplay on Branded Dracotail. So leave a comment down below what you guys thought of this. Subscribe today if you haven't already. And let's get right into this. All right, so my opening hand is Fallen of Albaz, Branded High Spirits, Ketsu Dragontail, Branded Fusion, and Fusion Deployment. This is a great hand in basically any context. So I'm going to open the turn with Branded in High Spirits, which will then pitch the Titaniclad with the Albaz in the hand to then search the Shrouded Dragon in the draw phase to play around Droll and Lockbird. And then I just end up going into the main phase, so I can then use the Shrouded Dragon then to send the Retribution to the graveyard. I end up drawing the Branded Banishment, so that's not bad just for the grind game. But here I will go into the Ketsu Dracotail now that we've cleared the Droll and Lockbird checkpoint. And Ketsu is going to get me into the Lucius. Lucius on normal or special summon, you get to add one Dracotail monster from your deck to your hand. And then, of course, as every Dracotail monster has when they're sent to the graveyard for a fusion summon, it gets to get a Dracotail Speller Trap set from your deck. So I will then go Lucius effect to search out the Phimina. That's typically what you get anyways. This doesn't get me full Dracotail because I don't have another monster, but that's totally fine because we'll get another monster. I go Fusion Deployment, revealing the Grand Guignol to summon out the Cartesia. Cartesia is an amazing effect right on board, main phase. Quick effect, being able to fuse with any monster to make at least a level 8 or higher. And guess what? All the Dracotail fusions are level 8 or higher. So I'm now going to go into the Cartesia effect to then make the Altharion, since I didn't have like a way to fuse them. So that's why Cartesia is very good in both the pure Dracotail version and the branded Dracotail version. So I'll go Altharion effect, targeting the Phimina in the graveyard to add it back to the hand, so I can get its amazing quick effect back into the hand, and then I will be able to trigger both the Phimina and the Lucius to then set 2 Dracotail spells and traps. I'm going to set the Dracotail Flame, which is a spell negate plus a draw, and you get to recur a Dracotail in graveyard, so it's great. And then I will also get the Rahu Dracotail, which is the branded fusion for the deck. And we get back the Phimina because Phimina is incredible. It's a quick effect, main phase, poly from your hand or field on either opponent's turn, so it's really broken. It's basically something that Branded has always wanted. It's the perfect end board piece for Branded, honestly. When I get to go full Dracotail Branded combo and have a Phimina on board, it is absolutely incredible. So I recur the Phimina, and now I can go Branded Fusion. Branded Fusion will then get Ash Blossom, so that's fine. I end up having to set that Branded Banishment and then just pass to my opponent. I do have the Titanclad in the end phase to end up getting the Albaz on the field, so I can fuse it off with Cartesia, right? Dracotail Branded, still at the end of the day, a lot of the time just playing pure Branded, but you have the Dracotail stuff to help you play through hand traps and layer your end board. I'm going to go Retribution to get the Branded Fusion to hand just in case I need a discard, and so I don't trigger anything. Then I will let my opponent play the game. He does chain Mulcharmy Meowls, which in the main deck is kind of crazy, but I'll take it. And here I find out he's on Yummy. He does go Obedience Schooled. I immediately Dracotail Flame this. Although he can just use another one, so this might not be the best use of Obedience Schooled, frankly. So I do spin back and then get a draw. I draw the Aluber. He goes 1-for-1 here, pitching another Meowls to summon out the Cupsy Yummy. Then he's going to use Cupsy's effect, which basically means on normal or special, you can add one Yummy card from your deck to your hand. Or if it was special summon from a Synchro Monster effect, you can draw one card instead. So he's going to go Cupsy to end up searching out, of course, the Lollipop Yummy, which allows him to special summon this card if you control a Link 1 or Synchro 2. And then if this card is normal or special, you can target one monster or card in your opponent's graveyard, shuffle into the deck, or if it was special summoned from a synchro monster, you can banish that card instead. So it's basically a DD Crow plus an extender. I probably at this point should interact with him, so I'm going to go into the Cartesia effect, so I can go into the Mirror Jade, and I'm going to use the Mirror Jade to banish the Cupsy, right, because then you won't be able to extend with the Lollipopo. And then I send the Rinbrum to the graveyard, which can get the Albaz. And then he does just normal the Lollipopo since he obviously had it. And then he's going to target the Rinbrum. I'm just going to chain the Rinbrum to then summon it. And then he's going to change it to the called by. But at that point, we just know it's game because then I can go Branded Banishment, revive the Altharion, and then just summon it. And then I can fuse off the Cartesia plus the Lollipop. And that's the great part about the Yummy matchup is that they're all lights. So that it actually, you can like Bestial them, you can fuse them off with Albaz or with Banishment. It's very easy to interact with the Yummy cards. It's just that once they get going, it's really hard to stop them. So that's why I do think like something like a Lock is very good against the Yummy because they just can't do anything. So I'm going to go into the Grand Guignol and banish the Lollipopo, and that's going to be game 1. Let's go into game 2. All right, so this is game 2. I draw Fuwalos, I draw Kit, I draw Rahu Dracotail, I draw Fusion Deployment, and then Saronir. He goes into the 1-for-1. By discarding Fua, I use my own Fua. I get to draw a card off the Cupsy. I draw the Talon, so that's pretty good. And then he's going to go Cupsy effect to get the Yummy Surprise, which is a very broken quick play spell, target 2 light beasts. You control and 2 cards your opponent controls, return them to the hand, which is a board breaker, or you can special summon 1 Yummy from hand or graveyard but cannot attack, or you can return 1 field spell and place 1 Yummy field spell from your hand or deck or field, because there are 2 different field spells for some reason in this deck. So yeah, that's pretty good. He's going to be able to do a lot here because the Bestial doesn't quite do anything, and this deck actually plays under Mulch Armies pretty decently. He does go into the Yummy Snatchy, which is the most important link monster in the Yummy deck. If this card is special summon, you can place 1 Yummy field spell from your deck or hand face up to your field, but you cannot link summon link 3 or higher monsters for the rest of the turn. So this is basically what makes it so that Yummy has to stay like basically below link 3s. And then once per chain during the main phase or your opponent's battle phase, quick effect, you can pay 100 and then synchro summon using monsters you control. And of course, you can use the links as a level 1 tuner as well, so that's pretty crazy. And then he's gonna go Snatchy, place the field spell. He's gonna go into the Mignon. I'm gonna chain the Perulia, which might have been, I think this was like fine because he could still extend from the hand. I don't know what he has. So then if you guys didn't see what just happened, basically the opponent ended up chaining the Yummy Surprise on the Bestial because I was going to target with the Mignon, so the Mignon doesn't resolve, but then he chained the Surprise so he can at least get the Cupsy on the board, so that's understandable. And then he passes over to me. I have a pretty good hand: Aluber, Rahu Dracotail, Fusion Deployment, Bestial Saronir, Spriggan's Kit, and Triple Tactics Talents. Like, if this Talents gets live, I'll be doing pretty good. And then I go into the Rahu Dracotail. I feel like this is a good way to just, like, bait Ash Blossom or just start board breaking. So then he ends up chaining the Yummy Snatchy and then synchroing into the Cupsy Yummy Way, which, of course, is a quick effect to tag itself out and then add on synchro summon, it adds 2 Yummy monsters from your deck to your hand and then discard a card. Then when your opponent activates a card, you can return this card from the extra deck and special summon 2 Yummy monsters. It's so crazy. These cards generate so much advantage, and that's the hard part for Brand because you can't quite contain it unless you lock them. So I'm gonna go into the Rahu, discarding sending to the graveyard Saronir plus Phimina. I go into the Altharion. Obviously, I get to go Altharion, Chainlink 1, targeting the Phimina, Chainlink 2. Saronir, I'm gonna go Altharion. Chainlink 1 is going to target Cupsy Yummy Way so that I force the effect. That might have been incorrect because I just don't get as much advantage that way, and he's gonna have to use it anyway. So he does chain it to go back into the Yummy and the Cupsy. And then I'm able to resolve the Phimina, get the Ketsu Dracotail, and then go Saronir effect to then get a Branded Retribution in the graveyard to hopefully play around any Heralded the Arclight shenanigans. Then he is able to go Chainlink 1 Cupsy to draw a card since it was summoned off a Synchro, and then Chainlink 2 Yummy Snatchy in order to Synchro again. Chainlink 2 Yummy Snatchy to place a field spell, which will be the Arakwi. So then I Talents take the Yummy Way so I can at least fuse it off. And then he is able to pop it with the field spell, though, since something was synchro summoned. So then I just end up going into the Ketsu Dracotail here. Not even thinking about Droll, to be honest. I probably should be playing around Droll. But I do get the Muller here. And, I mean, I still play through Droll. That's the thing. So I didn't really care about Droll. And, of course, I do end up getting Drolled here. And then I end up going the Fusion Deployment, reveal the Grand Guignol so I can summon out the Cartesia so I can start playing through Droll. Then I go Cartesia effect to then fuse off herself plus the Muller since I still have that in hand, which will then trigger itself. I can go Grand Guignol 1. I can then go Muller 2 to set a Dracotail Speller Trap. And then I can also go Chainlink 3 Altharion when 2 monsters are going to the graveyard at the same time, aka when the fusion summon happens, you can special summon it. So that's also really helpful for the grind game. So then I set the Rahu Dracotail, the Branded Fusion of the deck, and then I go into Guignol, which will then send the Shrouded to get me to the Branded Fusion. I go Shroud Effect, send the Branded Fusion. Now I have the Retribution to then recur that to my hand. And I go Branded Fusion Effect. I'm not getting ashed here, so we're looking really good at this point. I go into the Albion Effect to then banish off the Cookie. Then I fuse off the Cookie Yummy into the Mirror Jade. But I'm still going to get Nibiru'd here, so that's kind of annoying. So I do chain the Mirror Jade here to at least get the Titanclad in the graveyard, have more follow-up. Banish the Altharion, since that was going to be banished anyways. I want all these in the graveyard. And then the Nibiru comes out, and then I'm able to trigger a bunch of stuff. I go Chainlink 1, Guignol, Chainlink 2, Mirror Jade to destroy the board while also chain blocking the Guignol, and then I'm able to go into the Quertus. This is a misplay, putting him in defense position. That's okay though. And then I go normal. I have to normal summon a Luber now just to attack over the Nibiru, so he doesn't have a body. So I do that. The Quertus gives me some line of, wall, of course. If I hadn't gotten Drolled, though, if I hadn't played, if I played around Droll, I think it would have been a little bit better. I also could go the Rahu Dracotail here, but the thing is, in this build, I'm not running a Grimmel, so that's also, like, the shitty part about not running Grimmel. You can't just extend further with your Dracotail cards, and I'd be in a way better position, because then I'd get the Trap. Then I'd also have the Rahu, so I go into the end phase. I'm able to trigger all my effects. I go into the Titanclad, summon the Quem effect to then send an Albaz, since I don't already have one in the graveyard. And then I go into the Albion effect, which is then going to get Dominus Purged, which is going to put our friend right back into the game if he has follow-up. And then I go to the Cartesia effect to at least get that back to hand. And then the Mirror Jade pops, which won't really do too much, but I still have a Mirror Jade in the graveyard that is properly summoned and the Quem on board. So I'm still looking okay, since I have the Quertus, which will wall out. He does go Obedience Schooled, and then he summons out all 3 of his monsters. This card's literally just a +2. It locks them into beasts, but doesn't matter. They're all beasts anyway. So then he is able to go into the field spell, and then he's able to use the field spell's graveyard effect. If this card is your graveyard, you can target 2 in your graveyard and banishment place this and them on the bottom of your deck in any order once again to then and then he just links off over the Yummy Snatchy, which Yummy Snatchy will be able to get another field spell. Here I just go Quem effect to then target the Albaz, so I can at least remove a body. I was thinking about going Mirror Jade here. I think it was probably more correct to go Mirror Jade, but I figured that, something would have been better than nothing. And then he does go into the Cupsy Yummy Way, and then I'm able to, and then he goes into the Yummy Way. So here, like, this is what I'm talking about. If I just had, like, the lock-in rotation, I think I would just be fine, because then I would go Albion, or Albaz into Albion into Lubellion, fuse back for a Sanctifier, and then summon out the Cartesia with Quem, and then lock that way. So I'm just making this super hard on myself at this point. And then he goes he goes into Yummy Way, summoning the Cupsy, in the Snatchy, just to tag itself out. I go into Albaz effect, or Albaz will then fuse off the Snatchy plus the Albaz itself into the Albion, and then Albion effect. And then he's able to search his 2 off of the Yummy Way, and then discarding the Ash, so that's pretty good for me. Now he doesn't just have the Ash in rotation, but of course, if I don't play this right, I'm going to get kind of cooked. I go into Albion. Albion really needs to summon a Mirror Jade here, but I don't. I go into the Philia Regis because I'm testing this card. This card's not that good, honestly. It's during the main phase, quick effect, target 1 monster or card your opponent controls or in their graveyard, banish it, and if you banish a card on the field, return 1 dragon you control to the hand. So, and that's mandatory too. The issue with this card is it's non-targeting, so, or it is targeting. I thought it was a non-targeting, so that's the only reason why I went to this. If I went to a Mirror Jade, I think I would be looking a lot better, but I basically have to surrender at this point, because he's going to be able to do a lot here. Probably shouldn't have surrendered and just went for it. But the thing is that Philia Regis targets. So, like, it's not going to look great in that situation when he has a quick effect to synchro summon, right? And then we go into game 3, guys. I'm sorry, YGO Omega Replay sucks so hard. Like, this is the worst platform. I really wish that the devs would ever try to make their game better. But anyways, we open the Phimina, Shrouded, Cartesia, Nadir, Called By. So pretty good hand, all things considered. I don't have a clear way to Branded Fusion, but we can get there. I do just go into normal summon Cartesia, effect, of course, because I have to. I don't have another thing to fuse off. I can't just go Shrouded. Into the Gwignol. Gwignol is going to then send to the graveyard a Saronir, so I can get to the Branded Fusion. Saronir will send the Retribution. Shrouded will then send the Branded Fusion, and then I will get Ghost Belled, but I do have the Called By for that, so that's fine. I do get the Branded Fusion back. I would have loved to save the Called By for something else, though. Now I go Branded Fusion. He opens the Ash, so my friend's just on God at this point, going Ash. And then I go, this is why I also love Nadir Servant, just to play through hand traps, even in the Dracotail version. So I go Nadir Servant, send the Titanclad at the very least to get a Quem. I think it would have been better if I had gotten Maximus, but we don't run the Garura, but that's something I could consider in the future, of course. And I search the Albaz here, just to get something in rotation, and then I go into the Titanclad to then get the Quem. I arguably should have sent the Albion, though, because Grand Gwignol gets me into Albion anyways. So this is just like, you know, once again, it's a little bit of a rough game against Yummy, but I wanted to get something out there. You know, games will improve once I get better with the deck. I do send the High Spirits off of the Quem so I can get a discard, which didn't make too much sense to me, honestly, because I do have the Cartesia in the graveyard. This was like 4 a.m. Yu-Gi-Oh, guys. Like, you gotta forgive me, honestly. This was not my brightest. So I do get the Cartesia back to hand. But I do... Well, the thing is, I do have Phimina in hand, so I still have a lot in rotation between the Grand Gwignol, and then Phimina can just straight up get me to a Mirror Jade with this hand. So I'm not doing terrible. And then I can obviously just loop the Albaz through the Quem anyway, so I think that's, like, fine. Just as long as he has nothing crazy. He goes Salzban here, call Grand Gwignol, which is like fine. That doesn't do a whole lot. And then he goes Obedience Schooled, summoning out the 3 bodies, which is kind of annoying because I don't have a way to clear 3 bodies exactly on this board. So here I do choose to use the Phimina, though, but he does have the Called By, so that's just going to be a little bit of a rip, and I surrender at that point. I do think, though, I could have kept playing. I was getting, like, really tilted. Oh, no, I couldn't have because I had nothing in graveyard. I mean, I guess he could have triggered the Grand Gwignol and summoned the Quem, but the thing is, in this version, I wasn't running double Quem, so I guess the surrender was correct. So I had, like, no real... I mean, I could have gone to Quertus, I guess. Maybe that would have walled it out, but, yeah, this is, like, one of those situations where if you just play better against these Yummy decks, I think if you run the lock, you're going to be doing a lot better. I just wanted to get something out there that, like, showed you guys kind of what Dracotail Branded does. So yeah, guys, sorry it's not the best gameplay, but I wanted to get something out there. I will show you this game, though, that I was pretty proud of. All right, so I start my hand with Branded High Spirits, Albaz Branded Opening, Ketu Dragontail, and Lucius. I think a lot of the time when learning the Dragontail Branded variant, you are going to be debating on like how the best way to sequence things are. I think Ketu, if you don't let them know you're unbranded, usually gets Ash, which is really good Ash bait, right? Because you can still generate advantage through the other cards too. So in this hand, I'm going to attempt to bait the interaction. So I'm going to start with Ketu. Yeah, I could lose. I could get drolled, but I could obviously just chain the High Spirits and kind of get to where I need to go anyway with the Branded Opening. So it didn't really matter. So I go Ketu, try to get a droll by searching the Phimina. Phimina is the quick effect in hand in the main phase, choose polymerization from your field or hand. It's honestly one of the best end board pieces Branded could have ever hoped for. It's one of the most broken parts of Dracotail. The fact that you have a highly recurable and searchable poly that's in a monster. So I go normal summon Lucius so I could just generate advantage, search out another name. I search out the Urgula because, as I mentioned in my pure Dragontail guide, you always want to pair the Phimina in the Urgula. It's super important. So I'm going to just go into the Branded combo here because the Urgula is the Phimina also acts as a way to dodge imperm as well, so that's also why I wanted to keep it as well. It doesn't dodge imperm on something like a Luber, but it does help, you know, in play through hand traps and then dodge imperm on certain things. I'm going to go High Spirit, send the Albaz, send the Titanclad just so I could get the Quem in the end phase. It's just, you know, basic advantage generation, and then I'm going to go Shrouded, send the Retribution, and I end up drawing another Shrouded, so that's not very good for me. And then I go into the branded opening, and that is going to immediately get met by an Azuna. So we do see the new support drop here. That's why I thought this game in particular was a good showcase of both decks in terms of at least the canine stuff, because Azuna obviously if your opponent has 2 or more cards in the hand, you can normal summon this card without tributing, but that's only on their turn. But the more important part is if during the main phase, if your opponent has activated a monster effect in the hand or graveyard this turn, you can special summon this card from your hand. So that means even if you Mulcharmy them in the draw phase, like, they can just go main phase and then just use it. So it's kind of really crazy. And then if on summon, you can send 1 K9 card to the graveyard. They always well, I'm gonna obviously trigger the Aluber to hopefully get us to a branded fusion, but he's going to trigger the Azuna, which sends him the Lupus. The Lupus is just the other pair to this hand trap engine that you guys are going to be seeing in most decks coming out in the next format, because K9 heavily punishes the use of hand traps, because you trigger the Azuna and then Azuna gets them. And then Azuna gets them a free rank 5. So I get the branded fusion. And I still have the Dracotail combo, so I'm still feeling confident even through an Ash Blossom at this point, which is one of the nice parts about the Dracotail combo. It takes away the fact of losing from Ash like as easily on things like branded, and it also helps with the board breaking aspect of Dracotail that lacks in the pure version. So I mean, I think it's still fine in the pure version, but it's better in branded. So he goes Lupus, and I chain Femina here, actually, so I could start. I should have done this before. I realize I should have done this before, though. This was a misplay, and it's a new deck, so if I chained Femina on the activation of Azuna, I'd be able to obviously interact with the Azuna before they exceeds. But now that I chained it on the Lupus, it's a little bit late. But I'm going to do this here because I know this will go into the Ripper if they run it, because that is going to be one of the rank 5s they summon, which plays around hand effects. So I'm going to fuse off the Urgula plus the Lucius, and then get out to the Altharion, which is Dragontail's best fusion monster. Is one of the best cards that Branded can use, honestly. And you can make this with like Cartesia and like your other fusion cards, which are really cool. And on Fusion Summon, you can target monsters on the field or graveyards. And that's either field or graveyard. Up to the number of monsters used as material from the hand and return them to the hand. It is so crazy, honestly, this card, because you can literally dump your whole hand to the graveyard, trigger all their effects, and then use Altharion to bounce just like a bunch of cards from your opponent's field, or like bounce a hand trap back to your hand, or in Branded's case, bounce like something that you need for just engine or a good discard, or even just to the Femina, like I'm gonna do right here. And this is also going to trigger the the Lucius plus the Urgula to set 2 Branded or Dragontail spells or traps, and then he's going to be able to trigger the Lupus. Also, this is the thing, though. I guess I didn't misplay too hard, because I could have gone Altharion. I think it might have been correct to go Altharion, like, bounce the Lupus, honestly, here. But I figured at this point that I was kind of immune from, like, a Ripper or something like this. Honestly, in retrospect, if they run, like, one of the Omni-Negate rank 5s, I think this was a misplay. I probably should have gone Altharion effect to bounce the Lupus, honestly, and get back the Femina off the Urgula. So this was definitely a little bit. So here I'm gonna go Altharion. So Altharion's broken. This card on Fusion Summon gets to target monsters on either field or graveyard up to the number of fusion materials from the hand and bounce them. So this is where I'm going to force the Lupus effect, because in main phase it's a quick effect to Xyz Summon. So you guys can see how I kind of misplayed. If I had done this before, he wouldn't have been able to Xyz Summon. So I'm going to just target the Lupus to force it now and go Chainlink 2 and 3 Lucius, and he's going to go Chainlink 4 Lupus to Xyz Summon. I will just go Chainlink 5 to get the Branded High Spirits, because he can also negate it with a Ripper, just to get a free discard. So now he does go into the Ripper, and this is I'm going to also set the Rahu Dracotail, and then the Dracotail Flame, which is one of the best cards that honestly Branded could have at this point, because it's a free spell negate. So you play around things like Called by the Grave, which is incredible for Branded. And also every deck needs to use a spell to get somewhere at these days and age. So This card's just crazy, and then you get to draw a card and just like recur like your Dracotail cards. This card's crazy, and then I just set a Rahu Dracotail because just for follow up if anything, and also I can obviously go right. If I ran the Grimmel, I'd be able to go Grimmel. In this build, I do not run Grimmel, but honestly, I'm thinking about running the other Dracotail fusion boss monster because I'd also be able to go Rahu there. But Ripper here, the most important card probably in the one of the most important cards in the format to know. You can detach one. It's a 2 generic rank 5, so you can make it off of the K9 hand trap engine. Then you can add 1 K9 to your deck to your hand from your deck to your hand if you detach a material, and then if your opponent has activated a monster effect this turn, you can set 1 K9 quick play. So definitely very good on your own turn, but then on your opponent's turn you can activate a monster effect. When your opponent activates a monster effect in the hand or graveyard, you can detach one from this card and then negate the activation. So this card's also just very solid for playing around hand trap effects or just things like Femina in hand, which is why I had to use that there. And you guys see you know, the misplay is kind of costing me some card advantage here, but they'll still probably be fine. We will then be able to go Urgula effect to in graveyard to recur the Femina to the hand, which is why Urgula is so great. Gets to pop a spell and trap, and then also sets one, and then also gets to recur Femina. It's a great brick, and he's going to just use Ripper here to negate it, which is understandable. And then I will go Branded Fusion to send the Lubellion and Albaz to the graveyard, so that I could start doing my normal branded line plus all my Dracotail cards, basically. So I'll go Albion effect. Albion will then be able to banish the Albaz plus the Shrouded in the graveyard to then make the Lubellion, while still keeping an Albaz in the graveyard for Rinbrum setup. And then Lubellion discards the Branded and High Spirit to go into the Mirror Jade. And then we are going to be able to go Mirror Jade effect and get rid of the Ripper, because I want to just get that out of the way, not play into Thrust or anything like that just off the bat. And then we send a Rinbrum to the graveyard because this is going to be great interruption on our opponent's turn. We obviously don't have anything in hand at this point, but we can get there obviously through the Titan Clad for the discard off of Albaz. I will then go for the Lubellion, tributing off of the Albion, standard branded stuff, and then Lubellion get the branded Lost. I will then be able to go into the end phase and trigger both of my graveyard effects, the Titan Clad for the Quem. And guys, this is through like the K9 hand trap, right? Like that's a very good hand trap. I'm still ending on full Dracotail with full branded, right? So very strong engines together. I think the Dracotail branded variant is the best variant of Dragon Tail, but I don't think it's going to be the best one for everybody because not everyone can play branded at like that kind of level. So I think that Quem will then be able to, so otherwise it'll probably be the K9 Dracotail variant that you guys will see a lot. Honestly, I suspect, because it's just so solid in that deck. And then Quem will be able to send the Cartesia to the graveyard, and then Albion will be able to set a branded in red. In this build, I was not running a branded banishment, or else I probably would have set the branded banishment. But I think branded in red is still pretty good. It gets me set up for a lock if I want to as well, which I recommend into the new format because all the new decks are so broken. So you just kind of need to lock your opponent. I then recur the Cartesia, and then I pass to him, and I let him play the game. I obviously can go into branded red to search a Mercurier, but I don't know what he's exactly on at this point, so I just let him play the game. I see RB Funk Doc. I mean, obviously I'm testing with my friend, but we want to play as if we don't know. This card just literally says add an RB card. If you know anything about the RB cards, if you let they are kind of board breakers in a certain sense. They force interaction, kind of like the Fiendsmith cards. So you kind of just have to stop these one card starters because they don't have a ton of them. So I'm just going to Dragon Tail Flame that, draw a card. We draw Albaz, which is great, honestly. So great, honestly, a fantastic card to draw, all things considered. And then we are going to, and then he does go into the normal summon of RBGA Driller, which if you control no face-up monsters or the only face-up monster you control are RB monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. And you can only summon RB Gao once per turn this way during the main phase if this card is linked to an RB Link monster. So that tells us he has a Link monster. I think they have a Link too. If this, you can pay 500 and then target one monster your opponent controls, destroy that monster in this card. So yeah, it's kind of a board breaker in that certain sense. So basically, I ended up misclicking, and then the branded in red didn't resolve. However, I would have won this game, so it's just going to be one of those things with Omega. So guys, thanks for watching. I'll have some more complete gameplay of Dracotail branded and my complete Dracotail branded guide, so let me know down below what you guys want to see for that. The deck is very explosive, as you can see, as long as you aren't misclicking on Omega like I was, or just playing at 3 a.m. very tired in that game 3 in the first set. But as you guys saw with that last gameplay, that's really the general routine that you want to go through with branded Dracotail, the combo line, and why it's so good. It plays around and into K9 pretty well. And yeah, no, overall, and I talked to TJ, I would have won that last game that I just showed, because he had nothing else in hand. So if I had just, you know, branded in red got the Mercurier, he wouldn't have been able to really activate the Fist of Urn essentially in the graveyard, and then he had no other extenders, so we were fine from there. So yeah, guys, let me know down below and leave a like, comment down below what you guys thought, and see you guys later. Have a great day. Bye, guys.